Yes? Well, think again!
It's been over 4 months since the release of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, the intergalactic duo's latest adventure through the multiverse. And a question that I'm sure is on everybody's mind, when exactly could we see the sequel? I know it's probably a bit too early to even start thinking about that, considering not everyone has gotten the chance to fully experience this game due to the PS5 still being hard for some to even get their hands on right now, myself included. But regardless of that, you might also be asking why we think a sequel is even happening. Well, for one, back in 2019, when Insomniac Games was acquired by Sony, Shawn Layden, who was head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios at the time, stated that the Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank IPs were vital to the PlayStation brand. That basically means these are popular names that people recognize and associate with PlayStation, and are known to be quality AAA titles, which in return brings in more sales, with Ratchet & Clank being the closest thing Sony's had to having a mascot series that has consistently appeared on every single console generation since its debut. Not to mention, on July 18th, 2021, PlayStation stated that Rift Apart had sold over 1.1 million copies in just over a month from the game's release. That's roughly 1 in every 10 people who bought a PS5 also purchased Rift Apart. On top of this, the game managed to top the UK sales charts multiple times, as well as being the top downloaded game for North America and Europe for the month of June. And just like every other game in the series, I believe Insomniac was dropping some clues throughout the story of Rift Apart to possibly give us an idea as to where the sequel is going to go, but that is spoiler territory and I'm not going there today. So with all that said, we know that a sequel is going to happen eventually, but the question is, when? Well, given Rift Apart was in development for about 3 years, starting back in around June or July of 2018, if we use these tweets from the game's original lead writer, Sam Maggs, as reference, and if we apply the same development timeframe to the sequel, that would mean the next Ratchet & Clank game would release sometime in 2024. I know that's still pretty far away, but this could actually change based on 2 factors, one of which being the game releasing on the PS5. Which isn't exactly a shocker, given Insomniac seems to be going full force with PS5 exclusivity after Rift Apart, rather than doing any more cross-gen titles like Miles Morales. But since Rift Apart was built from the ground up for the PS5, it's likely that they won't have to adjust to any new hardware changes, like what's typical when transitioning between hardware generations, which explains the 3-year gap between Into the Nexus on the PS3, and the reimagining on the PS4, and the 5-year gap between the release of the PS4 reimagining and Rift Apart on the PS5. So with the team using the same engine as Rift Apart, rather than starting from scratch, they could actually reduce the amount of time that's needed to complete work on the sequel, so give or take, it could wind up releasing in 2023, but then there's the other factor, Insomniac's upcoming Marvel games. When I first seen that Insomniac was developing a Wolverine game, I initially thought it was Spider-Man 2, but then they showed this guy, and I thought, is that Wolverine? Then they focused on his hand, and I was like, no way, they can't be doing this. They did it. I was actually shocked, like, Insomniac just released Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered last year, then they released Rift Apart just a few months ago. Now you mean to tell me that they're working on Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine? That's 5 projects being handled simultaneously by just 2 studios. That is absolutely crazy, with Wolverine still in very early development. But still, it's apparently obvious that Insomniac is somehow more than capable of managing multiple projects at once, so whether or not this will affect the next Ratchet & Clank game is yet to be seen. Either way we look at it though, it's still going to be a few years before we get to see the iconic duo and possibly Rivet in their next adventure. But with the 20th anniversary of the series happening next year, who knows what Sony has in store. And going by what James Stevenson said in the Evolution of Ratchet & Clank on PlayStation article back before Rift Apart released, it seems there are plans in place to celebrate the anniversary, so I can't wait to see what they're going to announce. And you guys can count on me to keep you all updated with anything Ratchet & Clank as it happens. But just don't go expecting anything Ratchet & Clank or Sly Cooper during the upcoming State of Play, because that's only going to be focusing on third-party games, both already revealed and yet to be revealed. So there's no first-party PlayStation exclusives that are going to be there. I just wanted to make that clear before ending the video. And as usual, if you have any questions or if you have your own theories on when we could see the next Ratchet & Clank game, be sure to leave everything down in the comments section below. Also be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for more Ratchet & Clank content and updates as they happen. I don't know why I said that again, so yeah. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and the constant support. I've been Blue Knight, and I'll see you guys back here next time.
What?